These are kind of the questions to ask yourself and the bullet points to kind of go through as you're writing and when you're kind of considering whether something is defamatory, what to do, how to analyze it, and so on. So firstly is looking at whether the statement is defamatory. Consider it, is what you're writing fiction versus nonfiction? If it's nonfiction, are the statements about a particular real entity or individual? Can the subject be identified? You want to remove yourself from the analysis here because a lot of this always comes down to the reasonable person question. So if a reasonable person, so just like a usual person in society, were to read the statement, and it's not only the sentence itself, often you have to use the context of what's written around it. Perhaps it's a whole story, perhaps it's a few paragraphs or pages. Putting that all together, can we identify with confidence who this subject is, and is it a real person? So again, what is the nature of the statement? Is it a disparaging comment? Is it critical? Is it targeted? What is the objective of making that statement? Then, if you kind of have an inkling that this might be defamatory or I still have some concerns, then ask these questions. Is the statement itself necessary? So this is a conversation I often have with clients where you have to ask, like, do I need to say these things? Does it forward the objective of my narrative or story? Does it add anything? Or does removing it, not have any impact? If it is necessary, can it be altered in some way? So this again goes back to what I said previously, is something that's common is changing the names from real names to made up names, altering other details, maybe attributes, physical attributes or settings, dates, anything like that, to again lessen that ability to identify who the subject is. And then another question, which a lot of people don't consider, is can I obtain consent? Because at the end of the day, if it's based on a real person, but they might consent for whatever reason, if you can get that in writing, that itself could be a complete defense for you. If they're consenting to whatever you're wanting to write and putting that in writing, then that's all you need. So that's something to consider. It might not seem reasonable to you as a writer, especially depending on what you're writing, but it's something to think about or just to keep in the back of your mind. Then another practical element is, at the end of the day, if it's defamatory, knowing who the subject is, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's an organization you worked with, whoever it might be, is to ask about the risk analysis. What's the practicality or the probability of this individual or entity actually bringing an action? In some cases, there might be history there, or you may have received an overt message saying, don't write about this event. In that case, you've already been brought to attention that, they don't want you saying these things. Then there's also the monetary factor. Like, do they have the means to bring in action? So all this is kind of the kind of breakdown of, elements to ask yourself, questions to ask, and then to kind of come up with a final risk assessment at the end of the day of, where do things lie with the statement that you're considering writing and what it might lead to. So that is a very brief kind of run through of, some of the core ideas concerning defamation, risks of defamation, and how to protect yourself.